Hi, I'm Helene Smith, and I want to share with you today a parable. Parables were Jesus' way of telling people things, turning spiritual truths into simple and easy to understand stories. They were his way of making heavenly things make sense to earthly people like us. Parables are still a way that we can kind of slip past our defenses and get to the heart of a problem. This is the first in a series of parables. So the parable I'm going to tell you today is the parable of the trolls. Once there was a great holy city. The holy city had one gate, a single shining beautiful gate. And to get to the gate, there were these series of bridges. So the people from the outer cities, people who suffered with injustice and with all kinds of sin and sorrows, they often left those faraway cities and came in to the great king's holy city. Inside of the holy city were more bridges, vital thoroughfares that connected different parts of the city. For instance, there was this beautiful ornate bridge that connected the Jewish and Gentile parts of the city. That bridge was really important, and it was said that the king's son himself paid to have that bridge built. The other smaller bridges connected many other kinds of people. People who ate or did not eat meat, people who celebrated or did not celebrate certain holidays. Those bridges, they allowed the whole city to be unified, even though, in fact, the people lived in different sections that were separated by cultures or languages or traditions. Only one thing disturbed the peace and unity of the holy city: trolls. The trolls were drawn to the bridges, and at first they were drawn to those outer bridges, the ones that separated the holy city from all the cities outside. They went and stood by the bridge, and they began to urge people who were thinking of leaving the holy city to be careful, that the cities outside weren't like the holy city, that they were full of sin and sorrow, and that there was great danger in trying to come back to the holy city from those outside places. But as people didn't heed their warning, the trolls became angry, and soon their features were twisted with hatred. They stopped living inside the city and began to live under the bridges. No longer were they just terrifying the people who were trying to leave the holy city. Worse, they were terrifying the people who were trying to come in. Soon, the trolls migrated from just being on the outside bridge to being on those inside bridges. They hid underneath the thoroughfares that connected the cities. And when citizens would go from, say, their culture to visit another, or their language to visit another, or their traditions to visit another, the trolls would jump out. They would terrify them. The trolls would warn them that the people over there weren't like us, that they couldn't go and visit and still be members of the holy city, that only the people in this small area actually were citizens of the kingdom, citizens who belonged to the great king. The trolls, as their hatred grew, they changed. They grew warts, their skin thickened and mottled, and they became terrifying creatures of real horror. And they stopped people from crossing the bridge. The strangest thing of all about the trolls was the issue of the mirrors. Anytime a troll passed a mirror, and he would stare into it, and he would see a white knight, a beautiful defender of the kingdom and its citizens. Unfortunately, that's not what anyone else saw. His vision of himself, in fact, had darkened. It wasn't only the trolls who lived by the bridges. There were citizen soldiers there too. They cared about the people who were trying to leave. They were great friends to the people who were trying to come. They were the true white knights of the kingdom. The trolls had a fearsome reputation. And because of that, the people of the outside cities, like lust of the flesh and the pride of life, they began to believe that all the citizens of the holy city were trolls, that it was a whole kingdom of these angry, ugly, hateful creatures. And the city's reputation and the reputation of its king suffered greatly, and recruitment became more and more difficult. People didn't want to come and be a part of the kingdom because they were so afraid of the terrible trolls. Almost just as bad, the city fell into disunity. The bridges, they grew in disrepair. Soon, fewer and fewer citizens crossed to speak to one another. Tiny little enclaves formed until, blessedly, one day the king himself came riding on a white stallion across the city. He stopped and spoke to every citizen. He touched each person. He came and touched the trolls, too. Standing there, he looked at them, and this is what he said. The king said to each troll, "Beloved, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another. Even as I have loved you, love one another. By this, all men will know that you are my disciples." Those who heard the king's command and believed his word were transformed. The warts and the mottled skin, it all fell away, and was revealed again a citizen of the kingdom, who they had always been down deep inside. However, unfortunately, many of the trolls, when they heard his word, they nodded their head most solemnly and crawled back under their bridges. I hope you enjoyed the parable, and I hope you see the point, that we can't let those trolls terrify us, that we can't let the people who warn us against our sisters and brothers who maybe speak a little differently, live a little differently, have a little bit different traditions in their congregations versus ours, that we can't let those things bring us to disunity, that we're supposed to love one another, that inside the holy city, that we have peace, and that we do need to warn the people who are leaving for sin. Don't forget to like and subscribe to these videos. Like so that other people can find them too, and subscribe so you don't miss any awesome thing. Have a great day.